There's been a bunch of new premium collection cards revealed, so let's go over a couple of them to see what these new clans have in store for us with the new P-Clan collection. Also, an extra note for anybody that's watching this video as this video goes live. If this video goes live on the right time, this should be before I reveal my exclusive P-Clan collection card. So if you're interested in my particular reveal, then check out this link. This will send you straight over to the premiere of the video, so you can watch this video together and see what exciting stuff has in store and which cards I may reveal. Stand up! Vanguard! So the last couple of days we've seen a couple of clans, and I'm not going to cover all of them in this video, otherwise this video was way too long and I don't have the time to do that right now. So I'm going to tackle 3 particular clans, from which are Oracle Think Tank, Spike Brothers and Great Nature, as these strides are pretty unique and interesting but also relatively simple, so this video shouldn't be all too long. So we're going to start off straight with the one for Oracle Think Tank, and for Oracle Think Tank we have this particular stride, which is Happiness Spinning Nanda Dragon King. And this particular stride has one skill, which is act on Vanguard Circle once a turn, cause turn a card from your G-Zone face up, reveal cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of face up cards in your G-Zone +2, call all of the normal units revealed from among them to the Vanguard Circle, put all of the trigger units revealed from among them into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Then activate the trigger effects of all of the revealed cards. So essentially this is Susanoo in a stride, but it's a little bit different because the issue is all your normal units are going to be called. So if you do this mid to late game, you have quite a few cards in your G-Zone flipped up, that can result in you needing to call the entire board, even if those cards are not ideal. And also, even if you already have a field, because keep in mind, you cannot put all the cards on one circle, you have to spread them out. So if you already have a board filled up and you call or get more normal units than you initially hoped, then you might screw up your board setup. So this card is a little bit tricky, but besides that, it's basically free value, because it doesn't cost you Counter Blast or Soul Blast, and you're just gonna plus off a gazillion, because if this is your first stride, you're gonna reveal 3 cards, so you have essentially 3 extra drive checks, and if you have a not completely filled out board, you can use this without the potential loss of rear guards, and all those triggers go to hand, which is nice, and then you can still attack with the Vanguard for a triple drive. Now, for anybody that probably guessed it, yes, the overtrigger synergizes with this. Yes, you get the 100 million power. Yes, the card goes to your hand, not for remove from game, but you will not get the special effect because you did not drive check it. It's not in the trigger zone. You did get the effect, but you don't get the additional effect. Now, interesting enough, when this card was initially revealed, there was a lot of buzz around this card, and a lot of people were assuming that this card would be broken, but in my honest opinion, this card isn't actually broken. This card is fine for what it is, because it's actually not that ideal in most situations for Oracle Think Tank, because if you go into this stride, what exactly are you doing? Because you're not really putting a lot of pressure on your opponent, you just get more drive checks, that's all. And you're dependent on those drive checks to actually get value. And because you're forced to call the rear guards to the field, if you play cards with on-hand effect or on plays from hand, those will not activate. Or if you have specific cards that you want to save up for a later turn, maybe for an Ichikashima turn, like Silent Toms or whatnot, because you're forced to call them, now they are susceptible for your opponent to get removed via any retire or control effect. So this card is not ideal in every situation. This card has its niche usage in a situation where maybe your hand is really bad and you don't have a good field setup. Maybe you don't even have a field and your hand cannot replenish the field. Maybe you don't have Oracle because you had to use all your cards for a previous turn. Then going into this instead of an Ichikashima might be potentially useful. Or if for the early game Momo is not ideal because of whatever reason, you can go into this to potentially maybe fix the situation. And late game, this could go 2 ways, because if you flip your G-Zone with quite a lot of cards, either that could mean you cannot go into this thing because it would literally deck you out, or you cannot attack with the Vanguard, which isn't ideal. But at the same time, from what I remember, there is a card in Oracle Think Tank that has a guard restrict if you have a certain amount of cards left in your deck. So this card could help you go faster to that skill condition. So if you play with that particular card, you can use this to dig deeper through your deck and draw more cards to essentially get to the last couple of cards in your deck, so that skill will activate. So it depends how you build your deck, in which scenario this card could be useful or not. But I don't think, and I don't believe this is going to be the meta breaking card, which people initially thought this card was because of the over trigger and whatnot, because I feel like that's still too much of an RNG aspect, and at the same time, if you go into this thing, you don't go into a Momo, and you don't go into an Ichikashima, which means this turn, besides getting the 100 million power, doesn't really do all that much. Your opponent can still just perfect guard the attacks, and you just wasted a turn. And in Premium, you cannot afford to waste a turn. So overall, I think this is just a fine balanced card. And this is a nice option for the G-So for Oracle Think Tank. Now, another interesting card for the G-So for Oracle Think Tank is this G-Guard for Oracle Think Tank, which is one who builds the 8-fold fence Octagonal Magus. And she has the effect, although when the units put on the Guardian Circle cost, counter +1, choose 2 grades from among 0 to 3, declare them, and reveal the top card of your deck. If the revealed card has any of the declared grades, put that card into your hand. If you put the card, this unit gets shield plus 15k until the end of the battle. So it is an RNG-like card that potentially for a counterblast gives you 30k shield and an extra card in hand. Which honestly, if you get the value, is actually pretty decent. Now, how often can you get this skill off? Well, it's like on a service level, it's about 50-50%, but I feel it's like a bit more skewed in your favor because you already seen a couple of cards and you know your grade ratio, so you can make an educated guess of what grades are more likely to be on top of your deck. But there are certain effects within Oracle Think Tank which allows you to stack the deck during the battle phase, so after your Vanguard swung. So think of the Otagari Hisame, I believe, the grade 2 of the very first V-Era booster set, or the Goddess Sun Amaterasu, which also allows you to manipulate the top card of your decks, so you can basically set up for this particular G-Guard. So honestly, I think it's a really solid G-Guard in the generic sense. It has a lot of potential, and with the right card to your decks, you can get this consistently off, and it's honestly a really good card. Now that brings us to the card that was revealed today, which is the brand new Spike Brothers card, which is Lawless King Gali Gabarus. And Gali Gabarus has the following effects. Although Vanguard Circle, when your rear guard attacks, that unit gets power plus 10k until the end of the battle. At the end of the battle, put that unit on the bottom of your deck. This effect is mandatory, so essentially, whenever your rear guard is on attack, this will resolve. This basically gives every unit, or should I say every rear guard, an additional force marker, which is nice because it means every attack is gonna hit for harder numbers. And because of the other effect, you could go a different direction because you also have Auto Vanguard Circle. When the unit attacks, cost Soulless 1, search your deck for up to 2 grade 2 or less cards, call them to the open rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. Then, all rearguards get boost until the end of turn. So essentially what you can do is you can attack with your front row, they disappear, use this effect to call new front row, and those units in the back row that could be grade 2s or grade 3s get boost, and now you can make stronger columns. What also could be the case is that you don't call anything except for those two, you use their effects, they go back to the deck, then you recall cards that allow you to call more cards, so you call these new cards to the back row, they get boost, and then they call new units in front of them, and they have 2 new columns that you basically can swing to have more pressure. Now, I will immediately tell you, I am no Spike Brothers main. I have no clue what the actual combos are with this particular card. I feel like this is very dependent on your main deck, because besides the secondary skill, it doesn't really do a lot in combination with its first skill. You're really dependent on other cards that allow you to call new cards during the battle phase. And I know Spike Brothers does have access to those cards, but how far you can go, I honestly do not know. But in combination with the Dudley cards, or I believe the latest support that we got for Spike Brothers that synergize with cards being put back into the deck, this card could synergize with that, and this could potentially be seen as maybe a standard plus like Stride, but I'm not too sure if that's actually the case. A very interesting note to have here though, is that this card doesn't flip, which means it's not ideal for the GB8 build. Yes, you can do that, because if you steal 4 Heal Guardians, you can do free flip Heal Guardians, and then the normal Heal Guardians get 7, plus this is 8. Yes, but it's not ideal. You much rather have a card that flips something, so you only have to have 3 heal triggers in your hand to get to GB8 for the second stride. So it depends on your playstyle, it depends on what type of deck you build, and this could or cannot be useful. I think Spike Brothers mains will probably will explain this much better what the actual power potential of this card is, but it's here, and this could potentially be something nice. Now, what is actually nice, in my opinion, is the new G-Guard that they got, which is Compassion Queen Villainous Evita. And Evita has the skill, although when its units put on the Guardian Circle, cost counter +1, choose 3 normal units from your drop, and this unit gets their original shield until the end of the battle. If you choose 1 or more grade 3 cards, draw a card, put all of the cards chosen with the effect on the bottom of your deck in any order. So essentially this shuffles cards back into the deck for targets for your superior call engine, but on top of that, it is actually a massive shield, because if you target a grade 1, grade 2 and grade 3, this is a 30k shield. And then it draws a card. Sounds familiar? It's the exact same skill as the Oracle Think Tank one. The only difference is, this is consistent, and you shuffle back cards in your deck, which you can allow to do your whole engine. And if you have like a grade 0 normal unit that has extra shield, then this could essentially be 35k shield. So it all depends on how you set this up and what cards you play, that this card could be useful. But I think this is going to be generically good. But again, it's not a flip G-Guard, so if you play the GB8 build, this is probably not ideal. But if you play any other version of Spike Brothers, this could honestly be pretty damn good in your G-Zone. And with that, that brings us to the final clan for today, which is Great Nature. And for Great Nature, we've got a couple of interesting cards that, in my opinion, feel more like V plus deck or standard plus deck because of the way that they interact with the standard engine for Great Nature. So first off, we have Omniscience Dragon Caladrius, and Caladrius has 2 effects, from which one is act on Vanguard Circle once a turn, cost turn a card from your G-Zone face up, choose all of your front and rear guards, and they get power plus 10k until the end of the turn. At the end of the turn, retire them. So this skill alone essentially makes it, for me, in my honest opinion, a big belly stride for the big belly for V series, because essentially what you can do is you have big belly as your Vanguard, you stride this on top of it, you give all your front units plus 10k power, which probably will make them culture guerrilla targets. So then you have culture guerrilla to resend your entire front row to have a significant amount of multi-attacks, and then at the end of the turn you stride this out, they retire themselves, and then Big Belly's effect will activate, and you draw all those cards back, and you don't lose any momentum, and essentially you can do it next turn again. So that is why, in my opinion, this feels like a standard plus, because this synergizes perfectly with Big Belly for V. But you can go a different direction thanks to its second skill, which makes it more like a G-era type of card, because it has the effect on the Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, cost counter +1, choose one of your power 30k or greater rear guards, stand it, and it gets auto on Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, until the end of battle, when your opponent would call cards from their hand to the Guardian Circle, they must call 3 or more at the same time until the end of turn. So this gives the super battle door effect to one rear guard. That doesn't sound all too crazy, because that's just one attack that swings and your opponent needs to guard with multiple cards. But if we combine this with like Crayon Tigers and the other Big Belly that essentially is a grade 3 version of the Crayon Tiger, and we can reset this unit multiple times, then this could essentially be a win condition in its own. Because if you do this like mid to late game where your opponent is at 4 or 5 damage, this could win you the game in it actually, because if you can reset that thing like 3 times, then they are gonna lose their entire hand. That's not even including they have to guard for the Vanguard and the other cards that allow you to restand this guy. So yeah, in the right circumstances, this is a win condition, and in other circumstances, this could be a combo play with Big Belly for the V version. So honestly, a quite versatile card that might be useful for Great Nature for different flavors of the archetype. So I think this honestly pretty decent stride. Like, I don't think this is gonna be a home run slam dunk, but it's actually pretty decent in my opinion. And another pretty decent card that we got for Great Nature is their new G-Guard, which is Omniscience Dragon Skepket Avil. And Skepket Avil has the effect, although when these units put in the Guardian Circle, cost counter +1, discard a top card of your deck and perform one of the effects below depending on the card's type. Normal unit, this unit gets shield plus 20k until the end of the battle. Trigger unit, choose one of your units and it cannot be hit until the end of the battle. Sound familiar? It's essentially the Shadow Paladin G-Guard, because it can either do 35k shield, or it is a perfect guardian in your G-Guard. Now, the issues with this particular card, it's a bit RNG, which means you cannot really depend on what it does. Now, luckily, 35k shield is probably also enough to guard most attacks, but in the case where you really need the perfect guard effect, it's not too consistent. Unless you play Isabel, because with Isabel, you get both effects, which means for one counterblast and a discard of a heal, you will protect your Vanguard, and you can guard for additional rearguard on the same attack if that attack attacks multiple targets, which is pretty good. And Isabel already has its favoritism because you have the whole denial play with Isabel. So this is another tool for the Isabel deck, so that means this Isabel can become even more powerful in premium, or at the very least the defensive plays for the deck becomes even more ridiculous. So yeah, I think this is a really good card for Great Nature. Now, it's not the most consistent one of G-Guards, but let's say you're in a pinch and you need a perfect card and there's nothing in your G-Guard that will save you, might as well take the gamble. It might pay off. So honestly, Great Nature got a pretty good G-Guard and a pretty decent stride, and same goes for the other clans. They got actually pretty interesting and decent new tools that can work in specific situations. And with what we've seen so far for the other clans that we're going to cover in a future video, they also got pretty decent cards, and so far the majority of the cards that have been revealed are actually pretty damn decent. Maybe not game breaking, but definitely playable and can help to fill out specific niche situations. But that said, that's all I want to talk about in this video. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What you guys think of these card reveals, and also don't forget to watch the premiere of my exclusive P-Clan collection reveal later today, or depending on if this video is late. Hopefully it's not. So if not, then check out the premiere. And if this video is later, then check out the video for my personal P-Clan collection reveal for this particular set. Who knows which Trident G-Guard I may reveal. But with that said, I'm gonna give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. If you want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can go to patreon.com/FingTheInsider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!